The mysterious stranger. The space station Epsilon Prime floated silently in the darkness of space. It was one of the busiest trade hubs in the sector, where humans and aliens mixed, exchanging goods, information, and sometimes secrets. Cargo ships docked and undocked, their engines humming in the artificial gravity. Neon lights flickered, advertisements playing in different languages. Among the crowd, Captain Rylan Kane, a human cargo pilot, walked toward a bar called the Hollow Star. He had just finished delivering supplies to a distant colony and had a few hours to relax before his next job. The station was noisy, filled with voices from 100 different species, but Rylan had learned to tune it out. He only cared about two things: his ship and getting paid. As he stepped inside the bar, the smell of alien spices and engine oil filled his nose. The place was dimly lit, with holographic waiters floating between tables. He ordered a drink, found a corner seat, and pulled out his datapad to check his next job. That's when he felt it. A presence, someone watching him. His instincts, sharpened by years of flying through dangerous space, told him something was wrong. He looked up, scanning the room. Traders, bounty hunters, off-duty mercenaries, just the usual crowd. But then he saw her. She was sitting alone in the shadows, half hidden by the flickering lights. Unlike the others, she wasn't talking, drinking, or checking the datapad. She was just watching him. She was tall, slender, and definitely not human. Her skin had a soft, metallic sheen, almost like liquid silver, and her eyes. They were completely black, like twin voids that swallowed the light. She wore a dark cloak that hid most of her body, but there was something graceful about the way she moved, like a shadow in deep space. Rylan had seen many aliens before, but something about this woman made his skin crawl, not in fear, but in curiosity. Then she stood up. She walked toward him, slow and silent, as if gliding over the floor. The noise of the bar seemed to fade as she approached. When she reached his table, she leaned down slightly and spoke in perfect English, but her voice had an unnatural echo, as if two voices were speaking at once. "You do not belong here, human." Rylan raised an eyebrow. He had heard threats before, but this felt different. "Last time I checked," he said, leaning back, "this station welcomes all kinds of people, including me." The alien woman tilted her head, as if studying him. Then she placed something on the table, a small round device, no bigger than a coin. It was smooth and glowing with strange symbols that shifted like they were alive. "If you wish to know the truth," she whispered, "take this and follow." Before he could respond, she turned and walked away, disappearing through the exit like a ghost. Rylan stared at the device. Every instinct told him to leave it alone. He had no time for strange alien riddles, but something inside him itched. Curiosity. He glanced around the bar, but no one seemed to notice what had just happened. The woman was gone. Rylan sighed, picked up the device, and turned it over in his hand. It was warm, pulsing slightly, as if alive. His ship's AI wouldn't recognize this tech. He placed it in his pocket and finished his drink. Outside, the station corridors stretched in all directions, filled with travelers from different worlds. Rylan walked toward the docks, but as he moved, he felt something strange. The air seemed heavier. The lights flickered, and then a shadow moved. Something big shifted in the darkness behind him. Rylan spun around, his heart pounding, but the corridor was empty. Yet, the feeling didn't go away. He was being followed. He quickened his pace, turning corners, blending into the crowds, but the sense of an unseen presence never left. Finally, he reached his ship, the Nomad, a rugged but reliable freighter. The docking bay was quiet, too quiet. As he stepped onto the ramp, the device in his pocket suddenly hummed. A soft light pulsed from it, and then a voice, low and distant, whispered in his ear, "You have already chosen, human. Now, run." Rylan's blood went cold. He turned sharply, but there was no one there. And yet, deep inside, he knew. This was only the beginning, the invitation. The moment Rylan Kane stepped onto the Nomad, he knew something had changed. It wasn't just the eerie encounter with the alien woman or the strange device now pulsing softly in his pocket. No, it was something deeper, something in the air. Space stations were never truly silent, not with thousands of systems running at once. But now, the usual hum of Epsilon Prime's docking bay felt distant, muffled, as if he had stepped into a place between reality and a dream. The ship's AI, HFY-7, activated the moment the doors sealed behind him. "Captain, you have an unauthorized object in your possession." Rylan exhaled sharply. Of course, it noticed. "Yeah, I know," he muttered, fishing the device out of his pocket. It was still warm, the strange symbols shifting across its surface. He had seen alien technology before, but this was different. It felt alive. "Shall I scan it?" HFY-7 asked. "Go ahead." A soft hum filled the air as the ship's scanners activated. The screen on the control panel flickered, lines of data appearing. Then, error. No record found. Unknown origin. Rylan frowned. That's not possible. Every piece of tech in the known galaxy has a signature, even black market stuff. This device does not exist in any database, HFY-7 confirmed. It is either too advanced or deliberately hidden. A chill ran down Rylan's spine. Then, without warning, the device flashed bright blue. Before he could react, a holographic projection appeared in front of him. And there she was, the alien woman. But this time, she wasn't standing in a shadowy corner of a bar. She was looking directly at him, her dark, unreadable eyes filled with something he couldn't name. "Human," she said, her voice smooth, but layered with an eerie echo. "You have taken the first step. Now you must decide if you will take the next." Rylan crossed his arms, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease in his gut. "Who the hell are you? What is this thing?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she raised a slender hand, and suddenly, the entire room changed. The walls of his ship melted away into a starry abyss. The floor beneath his feet vanished, leaving him standing in what felt like open space. Distant galaxies swirled around him, their light stretching and twisting like ribbons of energy. It was an illusion, a hyper-realistic projection. But damn, it felt real. Then the black star appeared. A dying sun, massive and ancient, surrounded by a single structure, a massive golden ring, floating in its orbit like a guardian of some forgotten secret. The moment Rylan saw it, his breath caught in his throat. Something deep inside him whispered, "This is important. This is dangerous." "No human has ever seen this place before," the woman said, her voice almost reverent. "It has been hidden for millennia, waiting for the right moment to be found." Rylan clenched his fists. "And let me guess, you want me to go there?" The woman gave a small, almost amused smile. "I do not want. The vault wants." The vault. The hologram flickered. The golden ring shifted, its glowing surface revealing something beneath. A city. No, not a city. A tomb. Massive dark structures stretched endlessly within the ring. And at its center, a single towering monolith, covered in symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Rylan swallowed hard. "What's inside?" For the first time, the woman hesitated. Then she said, "A secret that will change everything." His gut twisted. He had heard words like that before, usually from con artists or rebels trying to start trouble. But this felt different. The projection flickered again, and suddenly, the woman was standing right in front of him, her golden black eyes peering into his. "You are not chosen. You are not special." Her words hit harder than Rylan expected. "But you are. Human." The way she said it made his chest tighten. "And that," she continued, is why you must go." The projection vanished. The ship's walls reappeared, the cold metal reality of his cockpit replacing the cosmic illusion. The only thing left was the device, now humming softly in his palm. Ryland sat down heavily in his pilot's chair, staring at it. Every part of his brain screamed to know. This was insane. He was a cargo pilot, not an explorer, not some hero. He ran supplies between colonies, dodged the occasional pirate, and made just enough credits to keep flying. That was it. And yet, something deep inside told him that if he ignored this, he would regret it for the rest of his life. He exhaled slowly, fingers tightening around the device. "HL7," he said. "Prepare for a jump. Destination." Ryland looked at the coordinates now glowing on the device. Somewhere no human has ever been before. The ship's engines rumbled to life. As the Nomad pulled away from the station, something invisible moved in the distance. A shadow ship, watching, waiting. And when Ryland jumped into hyperspace, it followed. The arrival. Hyperspace travel was usually a smooth ride. The ship hummed, the stars blurred into streaks of light, and time stretched in strange ways. But this time, something was wrong. Raylan Kane sat in the cockpit of the Nomad, gripping the armrests of his chair as the ship shuddered violently. Lights flickered. The engines roared as if struggling against something unseen. "Warning. Gravitational anomaly detected." HAL-7's voice crackled through the speakers. Ryland's jaw clenched. What the hell does that mean? Unknown interference. Destination coordinates are fluctuating. Ryland checked the nav screen. The golden ring structure around the black star, his destination, was still marked, but the readings around it were unstable. Then, the entire ship lurched forward, as if pulled. A force stronger than anything he had ever felt grabbed the Nomad and dragged it through hyperspace. "HAL, get me control." Boom. The ship exploded out of hyperspace, but something was wrong. The moment the jump ended, everything went dark. The Nomad's power died. The screens blinked off. The emergency lights flickered weakly. The hum of the ship's systems vanished, leaving behind a silence so deep it made Ryland's skin crawl. He reached for the controls, but nothing responded. "Systems offline." HAL-7's voice was faint, struggling to stay online. Outside the cockpit window, space stretched endlessly. No stars, no planets, just an eerie black void. Then, suddenly, something moved. A massive shape loomed in the distance, a golden ring, exactly like the hologram had shown him. The vault. But it was even bigger than he had imagined. Miles wide, its surface shimmered with strange symbols, pulsing faintly like veins of a living creature. The black star in the center of the ring burned weakly, a dying sun trapped in this forgotten corner of space. Ryland exhaled slowly. No human had ever seen this before. And then his ship moved. Not by his control. Something was pulling the Nomad toward the ring. The engines were still dead, yet the ship drifted forward, pulled by an invisible force. Ryland's heart pounded. "HAL, tell me you're getting some control back." "Partial restoration in progress," HAL-7 responded. "But external force is overriding propulsion." He gritted his teeth. "So we're being dragged in." "Affirmative." "Great." He activated manual thrusters. Nothing. The ship was dead in the water, moving toward the golden ring like a moth to a flame. Then, a voice echoed through the ship. Not through the speakers, not through any communication device. Inside his head. "Welcome, human." Ryland froze. The voice was deep, ancient, layered as if 1,000 voices spoke as one. "You are early." He swallowed hard. "Who? What are you?" No response. The ship crossed the threshold of the ring. Immediately, everything changed. The black void outside disappeared, replaced by something impossible. The inside of the ring was not empty. It was a world. A massive ancient city stretched below, its towers rising like jagged spires. The buildings were dark, covered in symbols similar to the ones on the device he carried. Some structures floated, defying gravity, while others stretched deep into the abyss below. But no lights, no movement, no life. It was a dead city. The ship's power suddenly surged back online. The screens flickered. The engines hummed weakly. Power restored at 32%, HAL-7 announced. Ryland immediately took manual control, stabilizing the ship. His breathing was heavy, his mind racing. This wasn't just an ancient structure. It was a tomb. And then, a transmission appeared on the screen. A simple message: land. Ryland hesitated. His instincts screamed turn back, but he had already passed the point of no return. He guided the Nomad toward a massive platform in the center of the floating city. The ship's landing gear deployed with a hiss, metal scraping against the surface as it touched down. The moment he powered down the engines, a deep rumbling sound echoed through the vault. Then, the doors of the city began to open. Ryland grabbed his pulse pistol, stood up, and exhaled. Whatever was waiting for him inside, he was about to find out. The forbidden vault. The air inside the vault was wrong. Ryland Kane stepped off the Nomad, his boots clanking against the metallic platform. The city before him was vast, too vast. The architecture was alien, towering black spires twisting into impossible shapes. Some of the buildings floated, hovering over deep chasms, defying gravity like they had been built outside the laws of physics. And everything was silent. Not just quiet, empty, dead, waiting. The sky above was nothing but a swirling void, the dying black star barely emitting any light. The only illumination came from the strange, golden patterns etched into the structures, pulsing slowly like the heartbeat of something asleep. Or worse, something waking up. Ryland's hand hovered over his pulse pistol. The message on his ship's console had been clear: land. But now that he was here, no one was waiting. His ship's AI, HAL-7, spoke through his earpiece. Scans detect no biological life. Atmosphere is stable but contains unknown elements. Recommend caution, Captain. Yeah, Ryland muttered. Got that part already. He stepped forward. The city stretched endlessly, paths leading in all directions. Which way was he supposed to go? Then, a sound, a faint whisper. Not words, not a voice, but a presence. The same feeling he had in the bar back on Epsilon Prime. Ryland turned sharply, and she was there. The alien woman. She stood at the entrance of a towering black structure, her cloak flowing as if touched by an unseen wind. Those golden black eyes watched him, filled with something unreadable. You made it, she said. Ryland exhaled. You could have just sent a postcard. She didn't smile. Instead, she turned and walked inside. Ryland hesitated for half a second before following. The moment he stepped through the entrance, everything shifted. The floor beneath him dropped, not physically, but his perception twisted. The walls curved in ways that didn't make sense. The corridors weren't just dark. They seemed to absorb light. The golden symbols glowed brighter as they walked, leading them deeper into the unknown. This place is alive, Ryland said, feeling his pulse quicken. The woman nodded. It is watching us. Not the answer he wanted. They walked for what felt like hours, or maybe just minutes. Time felt strange here. Then, at last, they reached it. A massive chamber, and in the center, a monolith. It was taller than any building Ryland had ever seen, stretching into the darkness above. Its surface was covered in the same shifting golden symbols, pulsating faster now. And at its base, something was embedded inside. A sealed door. Is this it? Ryland asked, voice hushed. The woman nodded. The heart of the vault. She turned to him, her expression unreadable. If you open this door, there is no turning back. Ryland's fingers curled into fists. He had risked everything to get here, and now she was warning him. "Why me?" he asked. "You are human," she said simply. "And that matters because—" She hesitated. "Because you were never meant to find this place." Ryland felt a chill crawl up his spine. "What's behind the door?" The woman closed her eyes, as if struggling to find the right words. Then she whispered, "The reason your kind should have never left Earth." A deep rumble shook the chamber. The symbols on the monolith flared, burning bright. Something was waking up. And the door. It was opening. The Guardian awakens. The vault shook. A deep, thunderous rumble vibrated through the floor as the massive monolith in the center of the chamber began to shift. The golden symbols covering its surface pulsed violently, their light flaring like fire trapped beneath ancient stone. Ryland Kane took a step back, his heart pounding. His fingers hovered over his pulse pistol, but something told him a weapon wouldn't matter here. Beside him, the alien woman, Zalith, stood still, her face grim. It has begun. The air in the chamber thickened. It wasn't just temperature or pressure. It was something deeper. The kind of weight that pressed on the soul, something alive yet unseen. Then, a voice spoke. "You have come too soon." Ryland's breath caught in his throat. The voice wasn't coming from a speaker, not from a machine. It was everywhere. It echoed in the walls, in the air, in his mind. Deep, hollow, ancient. Zalith's hands clenched at her sides. "It knows you are here," she whispered. "No kidding," Ryland muttered. The monolith split open. Not like a door, like a wound. Darkness spilled from the crack, not just the absence of light, but something deeper, something wrong. A swirling void of black mist coiled out, twisting like tendrils of a forgotten nightmare. Then, from the shadows, it stepped forward. The Guardian. Ryland froze. It was massive, towering over them like a monument to something long dead. Its form was neither machine nor flesh, but something in between. A biomechanical colossus, humanoid in shape but wrong in every way. Its body was wrapped in dark metallic plating, its surface covered in the same shifting golden symbols that covered the vault. Where its face should have been, there was only a void, an abyss that swallowed the light. It breathed, a slow, mechanical sound, like an engine on the verge of death. Then, it moved. The Guardian's head turned toward Ryland. Human. Ryland's chest tightened. He had faced danger before. Pirates, mercenaries, hostile alien warlords. But this was different. This wasn't just some ancient relic. It was alive, and it was watching him. Zalith spoke carefully, her voice tense. "Do not answer it." Ryland swallowed hard. "Why the hell not?" "Because if you do, it will judge you." The Guardian took another step forward. The ground cracked beneath its weight, yet it moved with eerie grace, like a predator sizing up its prey. "You should not be here." Ryland's instincts screamed run, but there was nowhere to go. The Guardian raised its hand. A swirling mass of black energy formed in its palm, shifting and distorting reality itself. Zalith reacted instantly. She grabbed Ryland's wrist and yanked him backward just as the Guardian released the blast. Boom! The wave of energy slammed into the chamber walls, sending a shockwave of force rippling through the air. The stone cracked and splintered, the symbols on the walls flickering wildly. Ryland hit the ground hard, his ears ringing. Dust and debris rained from above. Zalith pulled him up. "We need to move. Now." Ryland didn't argue. He ran. The Guardian pursued. It didn't move fast. It didn't need to. Every step it took warped the space around it, bending the vault's structure as if reality itself was afraid of its presence. They sprinted down a corridor, the golden lights flickering wildly as the vault shifted. It was changing. The walls curved in impossible ways, paths that weren't there before opened, while others closed. The vault was not just a building. It was a living entity, and it was reacting to the Guardian's awakening. Ryland's breath was ragged as he followed Zalith through a narrow passageway. Where the hell are we going? Zalith didn't slow down. To the core. The what? The vault's heart. The place the Guardian was meant to protect. Behind them, the Guardian roared. The air shook, the walls cracked, and the golden symbols flared bright red. Zalith's voice was urgent. If we do not reach the core before it catches us, this place will become our tomb. Ryland ran faster. Ahead, the corridor twisted sharply downward into darkness. No time to think. No time to hesitate. They jumped. And as they fell, the Guardian's voice echoed through the vault, chilling and final. You should not have come here. And now, you cannot leave. The truth about humanity. Raylan hit the ground hard, his boots skidding across the smooth black stone. The tunnel had dropped him and Zalith into darkness, and for a moment there was nothing but silence and the sound of his own racing heartbeat. Then the symbols on the walls began to glow, not gold like before, but crimson red. The vault was reacting. Above them, the Guardian roared. The sound wasn't just heard, it was felt, like thunder rolling inside his bones. Ryland looked up to see the towering figure standing at the edge of the platform they had just fallen from, its void-like face tearing down. You cannot escape. The walls trembled. Zalith grabbed Ryland's wrist. Move. They sprinted forward. The tunnel ahead twisted in unnatural ways, the walls pulsing like the insides of a living creature. The symbols shifted around them, changing shapes as if trying to communicate. Ryland's mind felt heavy, like something was watching him. Something deeper than the Guardian. Hey, Al. Ryland gasped through his calm. Tell me you are still with me. His ship's AI crackled back weakly. Connection. Unstable. Massive energy fluctuations. Captain, what have you? Boom. The tunnel behind them collapsed, sealing them in. Zalith barely glanced back. We're close. Close to what? The core. The air around them grew thicker, heavier with something unseen. Ryland's ears buzzed, a deep, resonant hum filling the corridor. It wasn't just noise. It was information, something trying to press into his mind. Then, they stepped into the heart of the vault. The core. Ryland stumbled to a stop. The chamber was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was massive, stretching into infinity, its walls a swirling sea of stars, as if the entire universe had been compressed into this one place. In the center of the vast emptiness stood a single structure, a black obelisk floating inches above a platform. The moment he saw it, his vision blurred, his thoughts scattered, memories flooding his mind. But they weren't his. They were ancient. Visions of Earth, but not the one he knew. Cities swallowed by the sea. Towers of glass and steel crumbling into dust. A sky filled with burning shapes, descending like judgment. Not an invasion. A purge. A voice, not the Guardian's, whispered in his mind. This is the truth your kind was never meant to know. Ryland staggered back, gripping his head. Zalith, what the hell is this? She didn't look at him. She was staring at the obelisk, her expression grim. History. The symbols on the obelisk shifted, reforming into something Ryland could understand. And then, the truth was revealed. The secret of humanity. A long time ago, before your species could even dream of the stars, the architects saw what you would become. The words weren't spoken. They appeared in his mind, burning themselves into his thoughts like fire against paper. The architects, a civilization so old that their existence had become legend even to the oldest species in the galaxy. They had mapped the stars before Earth had even formed. They had built machines that could rewrite reality, and they had seen the rise and fall of countless empires. We watched the universe. We guided it. We protected it. But then, we saw you. Ryland's breathing slowed. Humans. Zalith finally turned to him, her eyes filled with something almost like sorrow. Your kind was unexpected. The obelisk flashed, and another wave of visions crashed into Ryland's mind. The architects watching as early humans crawled from the dirt, small, fragile, and insignificant. And yet, they changed too fast. Other species took millions of years to develop intelligence, to create fire, to build civilizations. But humanity evolved like a wildfire. You were different. Humans should not have been able to rise so fast. They should not have survived against nature, against extinction, against their own self-destruction. And yet, time and time again, they did. Something was wrong. The architects feared what they could not understand. And so, they erased humanity. The purge of Earth. Once before, we ended you. The words hit Ryland like a punch to the chest. His pulse pounded in his ears. Your species was destroyed before. We made sure of it. We broke your cities. We burned your sky. We shattered your world until nothing remained but ashes. And yet, you returned. The architects had erased the first humans. But something, some force, had brought them back. No records, no explanation. Humanity had restarted itself, rebuilding without knowing they had once been something greater. Zalith spoke softly. They couldn't stop you. Not completely. No matter what they did, humans kept coming back. Ryland's hands curled into fists. It didn't make sense. It shouldn't make sense. But deep inside, he felt the truth of it. Humanity was not supposed to exist. And yet, somehow, it did. This vault was built to contain the knowledge of what came before. To keep the truth hidden. Because if humanity ever discovered what it truly was, the cycle would begin again. Ryland's breath was ragged. And the Guardian. Zalith looked up toward the ceiling, where the roar of the Guardian still echoed through the vault. It was left behind to make sure you never found out. Ryland swallowed hard. His entire life, he had believed that humanity was just one species among many. Not special. Not chosen. Just another race in a vast galaxy. But this changed everything. The golden symbols on the obelisk burned bright, filling the chamber with a blinding light. The vault was fully awake now, and the Guardian was coming. Zalith turned to him, her expression unreadable. Now you must choose, human. Her voice was almost a whisper. Do you accept the truth, or do you run from it? Behind them, the walls trembled. The Guardian's voice echoed one final time, filled with fury. You were never meant to return. And then, the chamber exploded into chaos. The final choice. The vault was collapsing. The walls shuddered, cracks forming in the once impenetrable stone. The golden symbols that once pulsed with energy were flickering, fading like dying embers. The entire chamber groaned, as if the weight of history itself was beginning to crumble. And in the center of it all, Ryland Kane stood frozen. The truth had been revealed. Humanity had been erased before, purged, wiped from existence by an ancient race, the architects, who had feared what humans could become. But somehow, humanity had returned. Not once, twice. Zalith's words still rang in his ears. You must choose, human. Do you accept the truth, or do you run from it? The Guardian roared. The chamber shook violently, sending waves of dust and debris crashing down from the ceiling. The colossal being, the last sentinel of the architects, was descending from above, its black void-like face locked onto Ryland. You do your NEV are meant to return. Ryland gritted his teeth. His pulse thundered in his ears. There was no time. No way out. The vault's core stood before him, the ancient black obelisk floating above the ruined platform. The golden symbols on its surface burned brighter now, as if they knew this moment had arrived, as if they had been waiting. Zalith grabbed his arm. Ryland, listen to me. Asterisk, asterisk. If you touch the core, you will awaken something even I cannot predict. Asterisk, asterisk. Her golden black eyes were pleading. You don't understand what you're playing with. This isn't just knowledge. This is the history of your species, the forbidden truth that was buried for a reason. Ryland's breath was ragged. He clenched his fists. Then why show me? Zalith hesitated. Because I believe you deserve the choice. Behind them, the Guardian's massive arm raised. A vortex of black energy swirled in its palm, distorting the air itself. The final blow. The vault could not be saved. Either Ryland Kane made his choice now, or everything ended here. The three paths. Ryland's mind raced. He could feel it. The vault was waiting for his answer. 3 paths. 1. Touch the core. Accept the truth. If he did this, he would unlock everything. Every memory. Every secret. The knowledge that the architects had buried. The reason humans had been erased before. The vault would become his. But at what cost? What if the architects were right? What if this truth wasn't meant to be known? What if it changed him? 2. Destroy the core. Bury the truth forever. If he destroyed it, the last remnant of the architect's knowledge would be lost. Humanity would never know what had happened to them. They would remain just another species in the stars, unaware of their true past. Safe. Ignorant. Would that be mercy? Or a mistake? 3. Do nothing. Let the vault die. The vault was already collapsing. If he did nothing, everything would be lost. The Guardian would be buried with it. The knowledge. The truth. Everything. Maybe that was the real test. Maybe he wasn't meant to choose at all. The decision. Ryland looked at Zalith. What would you do? She didn't answer. Because this wasn't her choice. It was his. He turned to the core. The Guardian bellowed, its energy attack nearly ready to unleash annihilation. The golden symbols on the core flashed violently, as if screaming, choose. Ryland took a deep breath. Then, he made his decision. The aftermath. The vault collapsed. A blinding light engulfed everything. Zalith's voice screamed his name, but Ryland was already gone. The last thing he saw was the Guardian's arm falling toward him, a massive shadow blotting out the world. And then, silence. Epilogue. The unknown future. When Ryland woke up, he wasn't in the vault anymore. He was somewhere else. The stars stretched endlessly above him, a sky that was not his own. His body felt different, lighter, stronger, and in his mind, the knowledge burned. Not just memories, not just history, something deeper, something waiting. Zalith's voice whispered from the shadows. What have you done? Ryland didn't know, but he had a feeling that humanity would never be the same again.